Mason Rudolph has played great through the first 2 weeks of starting this season. Could he be the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024? I'm going to give my take on that here in just a second. Also, ESPN reports what the likely trade compensation would look like for Justin Fields if the Bears decide to trade him this offseason before the 2024 NFL Draft. Is it worth it for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'll also answer that question. And then also future Hall of Famers Travis Kelce and T.J. Watt comment on the latest rumors and the Tomlin haters out there saying that he is a bad NFL head coach. So make sure you stick around for that. Before we get into today's Steelers news and rumors on today's edition of Steelers Talk, do me a favor and click that subscribe button and join the fastest growing community of Yinzers right here on the YouTube platform. We got breaking news coverage for you guys whenever breaking news hits, whenever the Steelers hire their new OC, if they go out and make a big trade for somebody this offseason. We're going to have extensive coverage of free agency and the NFL Draft as well, so make sure you click that subscribe button for that. We also have 2 weekly live shows here until the end of the season. We got the live show every week on Wednesday, and then we got watch parties for every single Steelers regular season game, and hopefully a couple of playoff games as well. And oh yeah, it's all 100% free. So do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now and join our family of Steelers fans today. All right, so let's talk about Mason Rudolph because, I have been super impressed with what Mason Rudolph has been able to do coming in, being a scout team quarterback for pretty much the last 2 seasons and coming in and being a very serviceable NFL starter, putting up 2 30-plus point, 400-plus yard performances for the offense over the last 2 weeks. And now Steelers fans are starting to say, you know what, maybe we should give Mason a chance to be the full-time starter in the 2024 NFL season. So what really needs to happen for me to think that that's a good idea? So first, let's break down the stats a little bit here between Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. All right, so right now, obviously, Mason's stats are a lot better, all right? You look at the completion percentage, it's multiple points higher, over 100 more yards per game passing than when Pickett was playing this season. Of course, touchdown interception is going to be different because Pickett's played so much more. I think both guys have done a really good job at protecting the football, but I think Mason is doing a better job at getting the offense into the end zone. And the result of that is a 115.3 passer rating, which among NFL quarterbacks with at least 50 pass attempts, that ranks number 1 in the National Football League. Now, granted, he was playing against the Seahawks and Bengals defenses, not the best defenses in the world. But my take on Rudolph here is that although he's definitely the best quarterback on this roster right now, I think that he sticks in the pocket better. I think he has better downfield vision than Kenny Pickett at this point in their respective careers. And it should definitely be Rudolph's job here until the end of the season, all right? Even if the Steelers end up making the playoffs, I think you stick with Rudolph for as long as you can. And the only reason why you'd go back to Pickett is if Rudolph just straight up stinks in the first half of this week's Ravens game, and you got to make a change. But I also think that there are probably better options to be the Steelers' starting quarterback heading into the 2024 offseason. And, there's still some things that I need to see from Mason before I really think that I can say that you can put him into a role where he's going to be starting in 2024. First thing I need to see is another great performance against the Ravens in Week 18. They're going to be playing their backups. There's no reason why Mason can't light it up once again this week. Also, I think the Steelers need to make the playoffs, all right? Because if they don't make the playoffs, even if they win this week, you got 3 good performances against 3 bad defenses, essentially. Because remember, the Ravens, usually a good defense, not so good this week with their backups playing. But then I also think you have to have a strong performance against a legitimate playoff caliber defense once you get into the playoffs. And if he can do all 3 of these things, then I might be willing to entertain the possibility of Rudolph coming in and maybe competing for the starting job in 2024. But there are other quarterback options out there that I'd probably rather have than Mason Rudolph right now. I would probably rather trade for Justin Fields just because of that high upside factor that's involved with him. Maybe don't want to trade too much for him, but we'll go over a little bit of that trade compensation later in today's show. Jacoby Brissett, I also think, would probably really do well in this offense, especially if they end up hiring Eric Bieniemy, who I think Mike Tomlin will hire as the next offensive coordinator of this football team. Baker Mayfield, if he wants to leave Tampa Bay and come to Pittsburgh, I think would be a better option than Mason Rudolph at this point. And then Russell Wilson, I think, was somebody that could absolutely still be a good starter in this league. I think that he has a nice touchdown to interception ratio this year. I think he's played a lot better in Denver over the second half of the season than people give him credit for. And I do think Russell Wilson, at least right now, I do think Wilson is the superior quarterback to Mason Rudolph. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Should the Steelers re-sign Mason Rudolph this offseason to be their starter for 2024? At least give him a chance to compete for the job. Type yes or type no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. And now I want to tell you guys a little bit about our sponsor today at Factor Meals. Get started on your New Year's resolutions with today's sponsor, Factor, which is a ready-to-eat meal delivery service that takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores and the prep work and the cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your New Year's resolutions. Stress less over meal times with Factor's no prep, no meal mess or meals to free up time otherwise spent cooking, chopping, cleanup. We know how much we ate doing those dishes, how much time it can take to cook yourself a decent meal. With Factor, it's super easy. It takes super fast to cook it. It's just 2 minutes in the microwave and you're done. Head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50, one word, to get 50% off Factor Meals today. That's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50, one word, to get 50% off today. So now let's shift to one of those quarterbacks that I had on my list that I'd rather have over Mason Rudolph at this point, which is Justin Fields. And Jeremy Fowler from ESPN reports that the likely asking price, if the Chicago Bears decide to trade him this offseason, will be a second or third round pick. Now, personally, I think it's definitely going to be closer to a round 2 pick than a round 3 pick at this point, especially with the way Fields is playing down the stretch of this season. The Bears are starting to win football games. They've taken themselves, their defense is playing a lot better. DJ Moore's playing really well with Fields throwing him the football. And you know what? If the Bears called me up here, right? If Ryan Poles calls me up and I'm Omar Khan and says, you know what? We'll give you Justin Fields in exchange for a second round pick and maybe like a future 4th or something like that, I am taking that deal in a heartbeat. Justin Fields, I know that he's a little bit risky, guys, but in order to make money, you have to spend a little bit of money. And it's the same thing goes with risk in the National Football League, right? If you want to hit the grand slam home run, you're going to have to take on a little bit of risk here. And I think Justin Fields has the skill set here, not only as a passer, but also as a dynamic rusher that could immediately put the Pittsburgh Steelers from a team fighting for a playoff spot to one of the top title contenders for years to come. Now, if he doesn't work out, obviously, that would be huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It would probably cost Mike Tomlin his job. T.J. Watt might have to get traded. They'd have to completely blow it up if Justin Fields does not work out. But please tell me another option that the Steelers can afford to go out and get that could legitimately be a superstar as early as next year. His rushing stats this year are absolutely fantastic. 630 yards for 52.5 rushing yards per game. He has 4 rushing touchdowns, and he has added 8.8 points above replacement to his total here in 2023. And then you look at the 2023 stats to this point, and I really do think that Justin Fields has the passing capabilities to be a true superstar in this league, not only as a rusher, but also as a passer. And I think he's really shown that down the home stretch here of the 2023 season. Now Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett have played the exact same amount of games, and Justin Fields has 13 more touchdowns than Pickett this year. Now he has thrown more interceptions, but it hasn't been terrible. He has more than twice the amount of touchdowns as he has interceptions, and the quarterback rating is higher for Justin Fields. And I think because you take into account the rushing ability of Justin Fields in a potential offense like Eric Bieniemy's or someone else that Mike Tomlin would bring in, I think Justin Fields is the type of talent that could be the guy here in Pittsburgh for the next decade and could put us in title contention for the foreseeable future. Now, I definitely think that this is a possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers because I know Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, really likes him some Justin Fields. And if he's available, if Chicago goes for like a Caleb Williams, number 1 overall, and makes Justin Fields available via trade, I think Mike Tomlin is going to be pushing Omar Khan to do whatever it takes to bring him to Pittsburgh to become the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He went to this guy's pro day, and he wasn't really looking at any of the other players, right? He went to Justin Fields' pro day knowing that Big Ben Roethlisberger was going to be his quarterback in 2021, just to see Justin Fields and his talent and what he brings to the table. He loves Justin Fields. He loves his mentality. He loves his skill set. And if he's made available this offseason, I think Tomlin will pound the table to get him in the building. Now, was it going to cost to get him? I think it's probably going to take a second rounder this upcoming season, along with a future 4th-round pick, maybe even a future 3rd. I think that Justin Fields is going to be a very hot commodity if he's made available. I think Atlanta is going to be trying to get him. I think Las Vegas could be wanting to get him. There's going to be a bidding war for Justin Fields if he's made available, especially with the way that he's played over the last few weeks there in Chicago. So I think the Steelers are going to try to do whatever it takes. This is what I think it probably will cost to go out and get the Bears signal caller. Now, if you're Omar Khan, are you taking this deal? Let me know down there in the comment section. Would you accept this trade? Type A if you're going to accept it, or type D if you're going to decline it. For me, I am spamming that A down there in the comment section. Justin Fields, I think, is the type of swing that the Steelers need to make in order to get back into title contention by next season. So before we go, I want to address some of the things that some future Hall of Fame players in the National Football League are saying about Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. Because there's a lot of Steelers fans and there's a lot of pundits in the media that have been kind of questioning Mike Tomlin and his ability to lead an NFL football team, despite having more non-losing seasons in a row, that's 17, than any other NFL head coach has with their current team right now, other than Bill Belichick, and he's about to get fired. Travis Kelce responded to some of this criticism from Mike Tomlin on his podcast with his brother Jason Kelce, and this is what he had to say. The media are so dumb. Why do we even do media? They're just a bunch of jackasses. They're just out there talking nonsense. One of the best coaches the NFL has ever seen, talking about Tomlin, about to possibly get his 17th consecutive non-losing season. Jesus Christ. Now, not only did he possibly get it, he actually did it. And here's actually the thing, Travis. It's not just the media. This fire was actually stoked by many Steelers fans out there that would rather go with another option than Mike Tomlin at this point. They want to see a change. And although I get some of the criticisms of Mike Tomlin, he hasn't hired a good offensive coordinator in a long time, right? Probably since Bruce Arians or Todd Haley, if you liked him as well. But he played a big role in getting Kenny Pickett in here, which wasn't good either. But how about we listen to some of the players that are in the locker room right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, namely a future Hall of Famer, one of the best defensive players of all time, in my opinion, and T.J. Watt, who had this to say about his head coach. The reason why we're winning right now is Mike Tomlin. I've said this my whole career here. Never too high, never too low, always consistent. The team meetings are incredible. Everybody, I wish they had a chance to sit in those team meetings. And I think it's just him giving a great message to us and running with it. And guys having true belief in this locker room and the guys in it. There's been a lot of outside noise, but at the end of the day, the guys have been working their tails off and trusting in each other, and it doesn't matter how depleted we are. We understand that's happening all over the league, but if we want to win games, it's going to take the guys in this building. And with all the people on the outside here that aren't in an NFL locker room, have never been in an NFL locker room, myself included here, saying stuff like, oh, Mike Tomlin sucks. He's awful. He's a terrible head coach, and he needs to be replaced. I mean, how about we listen to the players here? How about we listen to future Hall of Fame players like T.J. Watt, who's been in that locker room with Mike Tomlin his entire career? How about we listen to guys like Travis Kelce, who knows what great coaching looks like because he's been with Andy Reid for all these years. These guys understand what great coaching looks like, Hall of Fame level coaching looks like, and Mike Tomlin brings that to the Pittsburgh Steelers year in and year out. And I'm telling you guys right now, I've been saying it for weeks. You get Tomlin the right offensive coordinator to pair with, along with the right quarterback, and I think he's going to have this team right back to winning championships yet again. Now, let me know down there in the comment section. What say you? Is Mike Tomlin a top 5 head coach in the National Football League right now? Type yes or no for me down there in the comment section. Let me know how you're feeling about the Steelers head man. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button again, because not only are we in a sub-battle this week with our sister company, Ravens Rundown, and we cannot lose to those guys, but we're also going to be having great coverage throughout Week 18 and hopefully throughout the playoffs for your Pittsburgh Steelers.